Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there. Welcome to New Life Live. Hope you're having a great day today. It is Friday, October the 20th, a day of being Friday, October the 20th. And so joining me on this wonderful day, Marc Cameron is with us. Hey, Marc, how are you?
Hey, Steve. I'm doing great.
And Dr. Alice Benton. Alice, good to see you.
Hi, fellas. You too.
Well, as many of you know, we're having a little anniversary around here. We're just a few days away from officially being a 35-year-old ministry. And, if you think that there's no hope for you, I was out of a job. I was unemployed. And a couple of men came to me and said, we've kind of followed your career, and we would like to invest some money in you, and you start an organization. And I said, well, what kind? And they said, you get to decide. And so I came up with a business plan. And it resulted in a couple of $1 million coming to New Life. And then we grew 32 treatment centers all over the country, $92 million in revenue, Women of Faith, Remuda Ranch, and 35 years later, here we are still doing ministry because of you guys. Those men, out of faith, they invested that money. And now many people, out of faith, still invest money because they believe we might be able to help some folks with transformation. And I'm so grateful for that, and grateful for people like Alice and Marc and all of you who help us do what we love to do. We asked some people to comment about this history, and Terry Fahey from Salem Broadcasting had this to say. Let's listen to
Congratulations, Steve and the New Life team on 35 years of ministry. This is Terry Fahey from KKLA, Los Angeles. Thanks for touching so many here in Southern California with compassion, grace, and hope through God's Word and godly counsel. I remember the early years of New Life's ministry when it blazed the trail for a new type of live counseling program that not only spoke to the immediate need of the listener, but offered in-depth, off-air ministry, whether in counseling or with inpatient care. Since then, the Life Recovery Bible, Women of Faith, Every Man's Battle, Intimacy in Marriage, and Restore weekend workshops has brought personal ministry to hundreds of thousands, in addition to the vast national radio audience. We are blessed to partner with New Life and look forward to many more years of ministry together. God bless you.
Big thanks to Terry Fahey. He is just one of the greatest guys you'd ever meet, and is just a phenomenal Christian man who has such a great position with Salem. And thank you, Terry, for that little comment. We love to hear people who get what we do. And we wouldn't be doing this without your partnership, but also we wouldn't be doing this without Salem Broadcasting. They really have let us reach people we never, ever would have reached without them. So thanks for that. And in celebration of our 35th, maybe you have 35 cents you could give in honor, or 3,500, I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. We love you. We care about you. And if you are struggling in any area, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have the best folks on the phones now. I love those people. And they honor God, they are faithful, and they really have a heart for helping others. And if you've never, ever talked to one of our folks, call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and say, hey, pray for me, or could you tell me about a book that might help? So many resources we have, but you have to call us first. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk to Tracy from Austin, Texas, listening on KWRD, and we'll do that right after this.
Our marriage was just so toxic and just so many simple interactions that turned into conflict. And so we signed up to participate in the workshop.
This is Steve Arterburn. Our Intimacy in Marriage workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The tools that we received from the Intimacy in Marriage workshop were tremendous. It was so much that we were able to take and utilize and actually come back and apply.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to have that great marriage you always want.
The next Intimacy in Marriage workshop is October 20th to the 23rd in Dallas, Texas. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Best decision we could have ever made. There's no price that we can put on having healthy marriages.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here, Marc Cameron, and Alice Benton, and now Tracy. Tracy, how you doing today, and what's on your mind today?
Good afternoon, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Yes, Marc, how are you? Marc, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Alice, how are you?
Doing great, Tracy.
I'm just grateful to be here. Okay, Tracy, let's do this.
All right. So my husband and I are struggling with meeting each other's needs.
Okay.
He feels like I'm not being heard. He feels like he's not being heard, respected, because he's not getting sex when he asks for it, for various different reasons. However, we've both been really challenged in our lives with kids, work, schedules, all of this. But I feel like I've been trying to. We've been married for about 15 years, and I usually just kind of go with everything and put myself on the back burner, all my needs. But as I've gotten older, I've started to learn more things about myself and just trying to connect better with him. And because I do ultimately want to meet his needs, but I'm also learning about what I need. And I've been communicating those things to him, and now I'm getting back. What he's saying back to me is that you're not listening to me. He feels like that when he tries to tell me what he needs, I'm telling him what I need. But it doesn't matter. I can start the conversation with about me, and then it just goes back to how he feels. And what I'm asking him is that sexually, just us before sex, I'm just like, like I said, we have different roles that we're having to play, and we're doing so many things with life. And I'm just like, let's have a cute something. Talk to me, just have a simple conversation, something to make me feel like I'm connected to him. I see his heart, and I don't see him as just this regular thing that we're doing. Because I want our marriage. I want our sex life. Sex is good. It's just, I want to look forward to it just as he does.
Okay.
And I'm telling him what I need, but he's not listening.
Okay. Now, this might be your call could come from 8 million women who might feel the same way. And so I'm really glad that you called. I'm wondering if you have ever had any kind of help talking about this, or have you ever done anything about it other than the two of you talk about it?
We have gone through marriage counseling with our ministers at our pastors at our church. It's just today we were kind of having a conversation, and we both got really heated really quick. And I was listening to the radio already, and I was like, hey, let me just give them a call and see if I could just get something, just get a little bit of help. So we've done it before, but like I said, I always felt like it was the focus. Well, I always felt like I think it was for the both of us. But yes, we have.
Okay. All right. So I'll just I have a lot of feelings about this and thoughts. But let's start with Marc and then Alice, and then I'll fill in if there's anything left to be filled in. Marc, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Tracy. I think there's probably a lot of people in the same situation as you that's going to benefit from what they hear here. So, yeah, men and women, we're very, very different. As you know, when it comes to sex, just one difference here is men typically need sex to relax and women need to relax before they have sex, right? And so those two things can seem counter to each other. But where I'm hearing that you guys are getting stuck is just being able to actually listen to each other. And so what I find is a good format to do that is something called the Comfort Circle, which was developed by Mylan and Kay Yerkovich, and they talk about it in their book How We Love. And it's really kind of an outline of how to listen to each other. And so what I would recommend for you is to allow your husband to be the speaker first and you be the listener, and just to set aside time and say, hey, listen, I really want us to both understand each other on this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a listener right now and take an active role, and I want to really try and get and understand what you're trying to say. And then as he speaks and shares with you, try and take as best you can, a non-judgmental approach, and then repeat back what he's saying so that he knows that you heard. And then, if possible, try and add some kind of empathy or validation into that. And then at the end, say, do you feel like I heard you? And when he says yes, then say, well, now I'd like to share with you what my perspective is. And now the goal of listening is to understand, not necessarily to be agreed with. And a lot of times people get stuck because they think, well, if I'm staying silent or if I'm actively engaging and I'm listening to you, that means I'm agreeing with you, but it's not. So that's where I would start with that. And then once you feel like you can hear each other out, then I would see if you can get some help from somebody who is trained in intimacy, because one thing that you're saying here is you want to have emotional intimacy, and as men we need to understand that physical intimacy starts with emotional intimacy.
Alice, your thoughts here?
Tracy, I would guess that this maturation process you're going through of becoming more assertive is unsettling for your husband. It sounds like you were more of a people pleaser. Maybe you didn't even know what your needs were previously. Maybe you were pretty submissive. So if you were just working to meet his needs, but all of a sudden your voice is getting stronger and you're saying what you do and don't want, he might feel like he's kind of married to a different woman. And it might be hard for him to know how to relate to you now with this new assertiveness. Does that fit? Do you think that's tough for him?
I think that he has, I think I was definitely a people pleaser. However, I think we've had issues with our sex life for a while, of just kind of with him not understanding, oh, I'm tired. Oh, just with me not being able to be there how I'm wanting to be there now. We've kind of had issues throughout our marriage where he feels like I wasn't showing up enough sexually for him. I wasn't, we weren't getting enough reps in, if I could say that. Mm-hmm. So I think he has felt some type of way, but I feel like in the last 2-3 years, I feel like he's understood better. But with this, I do feel like he's having a hard time hearing me express myself, and he's not knowing what to do, because overall he's a really good husband. He loves me so much. He's been so loving. He's really loving. But when it comes to this, especially sex, we bump heads so much because it is so hard for us to. I feel like I said for me to communicate how I feel, and for me to it's just been so trying.
Well, let me just interrupt here, Alice. So often you hear someone like you say, amazing, wonderful husband, except in this area. And you go, well, how does that work? Well, there are a lot of wonderful men, but when it comes to this sexual desire, it's almost like the brain gets shut down and all of this wonderfulness goes away. And it really is a strange dichotomy of a wonderful person taking this great gift and not being so wonderful. Now, why do I say that? Because I've been there. And it's a sad thing when we don't, or we're not able to transfer the wonderfulness over into the sexual intimacy area. We need help with that as men sometimes. Now I'm wondering if this is a situation where he tells you that the Bible says you're not supposed to withhold sex from me, and so we need to do this whenever I want to have sex. Is that any part of the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely talked about that.
Okay.
He's just like, well, I have needs, and
So
he
here's-
tells me how things are.
Yeah. Let me just interrupt you because I want to get this in. Whenever I hear this is what I say to the guys, and I do it at our intimacy and marriage intensives when I'm there teaching. I say, guys, come on. If all you have is a verse to get your wife to be sexual with you, you know what that means? It means you've got a problem here. And you need to get help for the problem. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means if it's come down to I have to say, well, here's what this Bible verse says, then that means there's a really, really big problem. And here's the key, that can be solved here, but you have to be willing. And, the Bible says don't withhold sex, but that doesn't say everything. For instance, if a man is out sleeping with other women, would that apply? Would that verse apply? I'm just saying there are situations here. That verse doesn't say everything. If a man's out sleeping with other women, I would say to the woman, you must not have sex with him. He might give you a sexually transmitted disease or something like that.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't say everything. Now, what the Bible does say is that a man needs to be willing to die to himself to bring oneness into the relationship, out of reverence for Christ. He needs to do that. And if a man was focused on that, it would still be difficult. But that's the attitude we have to have when we come to this sexual intimacy that's not working, and then the man goes to doing the demanding and the woman just acquiescing. There has to be something better, and there is. Now, we have an intimacy in marriage intensive, and these are the exact things that we talk about. So I'm wondering, what do you do? The next one, I'm just wondering if he might be willing to go to something like that if he didn't have to pay for it.
I'm sure he would be. We're always open to learning and growing, so he would definitely be open to it. It's just sometimes this part of it is just hard to express to others.
Okay, so I know an anonymous donor who is willing to pay your way if you guys can get to the next intimacy in marriage intensive. But you have to agree to something before he'll pay for it. Is you have to agree to come back on radio and tell people if it changed anything. Okay?
Oh, absolutely. When is this? When is the...
Well, this is a taped program, and because it's taped, I mean, the one that's coming up in Dallas, let's see, what is the date? Is that this
It's
very
today,
weekend?
I think. Today with the tape date.
Okay. So we're taping this on Monday, and it's this weekend. And so if you can get there, somebody is going to pay for you to be there if he'll go.
Another scheduled one? We actually have a family reunion scheduled for this weekend.
The next one comes up February 16th through the 18th in Orange County, California.
See, the thing about this weekend was it's in Dallas and you're in Austin. Anyway.
Dallas. It's in Dallas, right?
Okay, but in the meantime, I want him to call me and I want to talk with him, and we'll
Okay.
try to give you some help in the meantime. And I love it that you say he's a really great husband, because, you know, there are a lot of really great men
He
that
is.
truly don't fully get what they need to be doing. And even if they know, they can't be consistent, or they're not consistent. And again, I speak from experience here. So I don't want him to be ashamed, and I sure don't want you to be ashamed. And look, you're kind of living into who God has called you to be. And he hasn't called you to be a people pleaser, right? He's called you to be a full, wonderful woman of God. And boy, I'll tell you, if we can get this area worked out for you guys, it's going to be amazing what the two of you can do together. We'll take a break. Come right back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here talking about this area of intimacy, and it's just such a struggle. That's why we do the Intimacy in Marriage Intensive. It really is an amazing thing that brings so many people together. Alice, you asked me if I would take the time to give you the time to talk about something, and I said yes. And what would that be?
Well, ladies, as we all listen to Tracy's question, I think it's important for all of us wives to evaluate, do we have a vulnerability to be neglectful of the sexual intimacy part of our marriage, especially as mothers and when our children are young, or just how busy and full our lives get? This is an area that we can have a tendency to neglect because our sexual need is not as high. Now, I want to be cautious in saying this. Tracy described having a great husband who's very loving to her. And my advice does not necessarily apply if your husband is abusive, if he's been sexually unfaithful to you. And yet, we all could stand to evaluate women. We have a vulnerability to neglect the sexual intimacy in our marriage. And I think our men have more of a tendency to perhaps be selfish in this area. And so that's a vulnerability we should all be checking on.
Yeah, and And I think every marriage at some point, I would posit this, that every marriage at some point struggles with this. And again, I'd mentioned earlier, there's just differences between men and women, right? And, another difference is that that men tend to have spontaneous desire and women tend to have responsive desire. And so as we start to learn how God has designed us differently in this, we'll start to be able to respond to each other in a different way, understanding that learning about the other person is a way to kind of rub the selfish edges off of us and kind of educate us into what God's design for sex and bonding really is.
Okay, so I want to give you a challenge, every person listening. If the sexual intimacy in your marriage isn't what you want it to be, and you just continue to do the same thing, and maybe one of you isn't satisfied or both of you, I would challenge you to do something that's very difficult for a lot of people to do. Why don't you talk about it? Why don't you, turn off the television or get off of the computer and just say, okay, so we're not in bed now. There's no emotions raging, whatever. Let's talk about what we could try differently that might work. What does it take for somebody to have that conversation? Humble willingness, not stubborn resistance. And if you do that, maybe you could come up with something, you try it, you fail at it, you decide to try something else, and then one day you stumble on a better relationship with each other. Or you go to intimacy in marriage. Or you decide to study a book together about sexual intimacy. The right thing is often the most difficult thing. And of all the things to talk about in marriages, this seems to be the most difficult for people to talk about or to do something about. So that means, it's the right thing because it's evidenced in being so difficult. That's my challenge to you. Talk about it. Don't just continue to repeat the same mistakes. Well, right now, how about we talk with John? I said I'd go to John, and here he is, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Sirius XM, satellite radio. John, how you doing? Thanks for holding on there.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Thank you guys for your great ministry. I'm also a monthly supporter.
Wow, thank you.
So love what you guys do with transforming people's lives. And so
thank you.
My wife and I have a challenging situation, at least to us. We have a adult son, 25 years old, who for all of his life has been very negative, very, looks at life very negatively. And now he's in the military in Arizona, and he's had several huge challenges. And has become
what are the challenges you're talking about?
He is going to have to be moved to the East Coast. He had surgery, which didn't help, and it's actually worsening during the military. And he just has lots of decision-making issues, can't make decisions, and now he's become suicidal. It's a whole scenario, but my questions to you all is, how do we help him in our conversations to help him look up to God and look at the good things? And is there really anything that can change this person's very negative, just dumping hatred of life? And we are just worn out as to say, if he kills himself, we've done everything we can.
John.
Okay. Well, it sounds like he's very, very depressed. Wouldn't you agree?
He's very depressed. He's very angry.
And has he ever seen a psychiatrist to help him with some kind of medication that could get him back to where he needs to be?
He has, and he's seen a psychiatrist in the military three times, once in person, 2 other times via calls, and he has decided he doesn't want to see them anymore. He's been on medicine for a couple of weeks. A few months ago, he just decided, I'm not going to do that anymore. And we get texts every once in a while saying, I'm just completely done with this constant pain.
Yeah.
I wish I could drive to Oregon and just do
So
euthanasia.
glad you called. Hold on. We're going to help.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction.
He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict.
There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. November 3rd through the 5th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. John is talking to us about his son who's in the military and just things not going well, and he's suicidal. John, did you say that he said he just would want to come back to Oregon and die, or what was that? I missed what he was. The end.
Yes, he has texted my wife saying the constant pain is. Can't sleep at night. I'm tired of it. He said if he could, he would go to Oregon and euthanasia.
I see. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Pain. Do you have any idea what might be the source of the pain or something that happened to him that really radically changed his life and the way he feels?
Yes, he's had this kind of pain. It was a joint pain, and military was addressing it, so they did surgery, but they did the wrong surgery, and the pain is gotten worse. He's had so pain management. He's had he's had nerve testing. He's had MRIs. He's had psychologists. He's had psychiatrists, and he is supposed to move to the East Coast, and he is basically dumps on us about everything negative.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't know what to do.
At the break, first of all, separate from your son, Alice had a thought for you and your wife. Alice?
Well, just knowing, John, that this has been lifelong and your son can decline all these different forms of help, which he's beginning to do. how hopeless, powerless, depleted you and your wife must feel. And you two seem to be the main people that he talks about of how much he hates life. And so I think that because you can't change, you have little power over what your son decides to do. It would be so important for you and your wife to be refueling frequently, which might sound selfish, but focusing on how you two can get re-energized by the support you receive from your community, from the people around you, getting your own mental health support, your own therapy, so that when you speak with your son, you want to be your most strengthened self, because it's so difficult to listen to all of his negativity. And you may also have to be cautious about gently limiting how long you are his listeners, because perhaps you can give him a solid 10 minutes, but if it stretches out to 20 minutes, you might become a resentful, bitter listener to him. And when I check on this with people in therapy, sometimes our capacity is truly only a handful of minutes. So we want to give what we genuinely can and then protect our limited ability to listen to this so that when we go to our son, we're giving him the best that we have. I also want to add in that you're probably doing this, but having a prayer group within your community that's interceding for your son spiritually, and you and your wife perhaps even fasting, as we know that that's a way to break through problems that just seem impossible in our world.
Yes, and I would wonder, how are you able to go see him at all?
We have visited him, especially the last month and a half or so after his surgery, to help him through that, where he was actually having severe attacks that we had to address it, and so we've done physically tried to be there, mentally tried to help him. We've had prayer groups. We have fasted even throughout the years.
Okay.
And we're essentially don't know. I even called last week the suicide hotline, not for me, but to get their advice as to how should we respond. They gave us things like, well, you probably need to set emotional boundaries.
Okay, so let me give you, or just take you down another path. Is there a chaplain there where he is?
There is, but it's a long drive. He lives about maybe 45 minutes away from the base, and he doesn't want to go to the chaplain.
Okay, so why couldn't the chaplain go to him?
I don't know. We forced him to go seek a psychiatrist.
Uh-huh.
We have asked him to talk to counselors, Christian counselors. He doesn't want to do it.
Okay. And do you know of any Christian group that is working with that base where he is to provide any kind of emotional, spiritual support there?
No, he goes occasionally to the local church there, but he doesn't want to talk to anybody about it.
Well, I would, if it was my son and I was in your position, I would probably try to contact the chaplain and say, my son doesn't want you to come see him, but help us. What resources? What do you know that's there that maybe could help our son in some way? And I just don't know the military well enough to really be able to direct you very well. I just know that there are a lot of very dedicated, committed chaplains that if they knew there was a need, they'd do everything they could to help it. Marc, you have a thought here?
Yeah, how long does your son have left, John, in the military?
He has 2.5 years left.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually just talking to a therapist in the VA on Friday, and I know the military just has its own culture here, and the underlying message that's typically given is be mentally strong for the mission, and a lot of the times soldiers believe that if they go and seek help, then that's going to affect their career, it's going to affect their deployment, it's going to affect how everybody, the rest of their teammates are thinking and seeing them. And so it's very, very restricting, even though the message could be like, go seek help if you need it. There's a counter message to that saying, don't seek help, be mentally strong. And so I wonder if that's what's going on with your son, which is why he doesn't want to go and seek help, even though that there's help out there. And so I feel for you. So maybe it's with you guys is communicating that understanding to him. I do want to encourage you to keep praying, keep fasting. I like what Steve is saying too about getting a chaplain involved. If there's possible that you can look up to see if there's nonprofits that maybe help veterans, because it sounds like he doesn't live on the base, so he can maybe go seek someone outside of the military to help him. That's what I would encourage him to do. But yeah, see if you can find some nonprofits, because if you can find somebody who understands the military culture, a lot of times they have a road in with them, because then there's that connection of understanding there.
I am so sorry about the literal physical pain that he's experiencing. That is just tragic that they weren't able to help that. Alice, a final thought here.
There's a form of therapy called electroconvulsive therapy, where electricity is actually sent through the brain, and it can reset some of these rooted patterns that we can get so stuck in. It's not so frequently used, but certainly in severe cases, it can be very helpful. And I'm sure you're entering into spiritual warfare, because there can be such a spirit of death in addition to just the mental health side of struggling with suicidality. So make sure to pray in that way as well.
I don't think we've help much here. I just feel so bad for you, John, and I think you're calling because you feel so helpless. But I would, wherever that base is, where he is, I'd get online and I would look for anything I could that might be able to intersect with him, and them not going to him saying your dad sent us, but that maybe they're working with the military there. And I just wouldn't give up. And if you have to limit the amount of stuff you like is being said here, limit what you hear from him, that's one thing. But I wouldn't limit the kind of work I would do to try to find somebody to connect with him that might give him some hope. And I pray right now, Lord, that you would intervene here and help this young man, help him with his pain, both spiritual, physical, and emotional. John, I wish we had better help for you here today. It really is a tragic case. But God is the God of the impossible. And Lord, I ask you to do something here that most people would think is impossible. And to be with this young man and help him to find just enough to stay alive every day until he can experience some new hope. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come right back for more of New Life Live. Please pray for John's son. It would sure be wonderful if we could see a miracle come out of that. And by the way, if you're listening to us next Tuesday, you'll hear Lisa Harper. She's got a new book, devotional. She's going to be on the program, an amazing person. And then we'll be amazing right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and as painful as it is when us parents have something and we just don't know what to do, sure is great to get in a support group and a Bible study where we can talk about things, a home group, or just a support group. They're everywhere, and I would hope and pray that for John. Such a tragic situation. Pray for John and his son. Well, our final caller here is Major from Biloxi, Mississippi. Watches on YouTube. Major, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for taking my call, and I really appreciate this ministry and the work that the Lord is blessing you guys with the ability to help so many people.
Thank you. Thanks so much. How could we help you, Major?
Well, I was wanting to get some direction if I could. My wife and I have been separated for 8 months. She elected to separate from me because she said that she was losing her love for life and she needed some time to find it again. And I think it was brought on by a roller coaster ride, an emotional roller coaster ride that I was in, because I was having some reoccurring thoughts that I shared with her. And
thoughts about what?
Thoughts about, you want me to be specific?
Well, not too specific, but like, were you thinking of destroying somebody or an old flame or what? Just the realm of what the thoughts were.
No, the thoughts were that my wife was being unfaithful to me.
Okay.
And
maybe those recurring thoughts were based on the fact that sometimes we don't see everything, but we have a sense, and it all kind of comes together, and we start to think things are true because maybe they are true.
Well, that could be. But when, like I say, I was keeping her abreast of what I was going through, and I really felt it was a spiritual warfare and that the enemy wanted me to believe these things. And she always reassured me that that was not the case, that it was not happening, not to believe it, and to move on. But what I later found out after the separation occurred, I said, I think I better go seek some help. And so I went to see a psychiatrist, and I have been under her overview, I guess. Not her overview, but she's taking care of me, and then I'm also seeing a therapist in her office.
So what's going on now?
Basically, she diagnosed that I had OCD and depression, and I had been on depression medication for quite some time. And with the new revelation of OCD, where she told me having OCD and you having these reoccurring thoughts, that is one of the problems. And so she placed me on a couple of products, Zoloft and a product called Trazodone, and those were gifts from God because in just a short term.
I want to help you. I want to help you, and we're running out of time. The medicine helped.
Okay, so
tell me about what's going on with her.
Well, she had requested when she left, she wrote me a scathing note. And she said, don't contact me. I will contact you when I'm ready to talk or begin talking. And it's been 8 months. I have reached out to her on occasions. And even 4 or so years before this
occurred, wait a second. I want you to tell us what's going on with her now. I want to help you before we have to go.
What's going on with her? Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on with her because she has not been in contact with me. She continues to work, and so what I'm calling for really, how long do I continue to grant her boundary of me not contacting her?
Okay.
Do I wait a year? Do I wait 5 years? Do I wait 10 years?
Well, let me ask you this: is there any truth? I mean, is she faithful? I mean, have you uncovered anything that says she isn't not faithful, or was that all just you're imagining that? Has she ever done anything unfaithful?
I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say also that several months ago when she was attending football parties, I elected not to go to those parties. They were with friends and her friends, and I learned that there were times when she would go to this coworker's house, and it was just the two of them watching the football game. And I explained to her, I said, we can't do that because that's going to undermine our marriage and relationship.
Well, and was that the beginning of your thinking she was unfaithful?
I want to say that it was after that, because that there were times when when she would wink at men in public, she would.
Major, I have 2 minutes, and I want to turn this over to Marc and Alice. If my wife was going to a coworker's house, opposite sex, watching a football game with them, it wouldn't be OCD that was causing me to think of unfaithfulness. Alice, Marc, what are you thinking here? We've got
Major, just to be brief here, I think you've got good reason to have concern, because that's concerning. And so in terms of what you're saying, just to answer your specific question here, how long should you give? I do think 6 months is a long time, right? Sometimes we need to give someone space, but this is a long time. I think to a certain point now, she needs to give you a timeline of what does reconciliation look like? Are you working towards reconciliation? Are you working towards away from that? And so she needs to either give you concrete steps of how you need to move forward, or she needs to let you know that she's letting you go. So I do think it's appropriate for you to contact and ask that question.
And Major, if she's not responding at all to your attempts to contact her, whether or not she is, I'd also have you consider asking your therapist to reach out to her, so that your therapist could do a couple of things. Your therapist could offer progress that you're making. It's objective progress, so not just your opinion, which your wife may need to hear about. What are you doing about the obsessive thoughts, whether they're true or not? And your therapist could also ask your wife for feedback and ask about what your wife is planning so that she can integrate that information into the work that she's doing with you.
Yeah, I really...
That's an excellent idea.
I just feel for you because your wife is not there for you, and now you reveal that, she has done some things that I'd have those recurring thoughts. So I really think this is a great idea from Alice to try to get your counselor or therapist to contact her and give an update here. Most likely there's not much interest here in moving forward. I mean, there doesn't seem to be. And we got to be willing to deal with the reality in a realistic way rather than act like it's not there. Sorry to move you along, Major, but now we're out of time. God bless you there. Let me send you Every Man's Bible. Maybe there's something we can do off of the air here to help you. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you need some help.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.